Time for another Tacky Talk. State Representative Tacky Chan of Quincy from the 2nd Norfolk District here in Quincy is joining us for another weekly update. Hi, Tacky, how are you?
Good to see you, Joe, for another wonderful week in November where, it was cool, wet, cool, warm, wet.
Yes, we've gone from record heat to below average colds.
But it is a beautiful day. It's a sunny Tuesday, the 15th.
Yep, that's true. It's the week after the election, and we're still waiting nationally to find out what's going to happen in the House.
Yeah, I was talking to some friends about this, and people don't realize that in places, especially like Arizona, the county runs the election, and the county is like 1 million people, and all the ballots go to one place. Doesn't matter if you did it in person or you mailed it in or Dropbox. It doesn't matter. And given the last election, Arizona's adopted much more stringent methods regarding proper identification and verification, which slows down the count considerably. Plus the fact that not just counting ballots for the U.S. Senate race or congressional, they're counting ballots for all the ticket going down ticket.
Yep,
So,
all their state races too. Yeah,
exactly. So it isn't. People have this like weird impression. It's like in Massachusetts how we do things in small communities around us. I mean, we're a big city for Massachusetts, but I mean, relative to out there, it's significantly smaller. Given the scrutiny from last time, they upped their game regarding ensuring that, observers are available, that, people have clear view of the ballots, and the processes, verification of signatures on each envelope that came in, they're checking against the voter cards. They have to run it themselves through the machines. It's not like done like we do sitting at the polling place and run them through the secure lockbox differential. I mean, it's totally different election system. And even Oregon's gone 100% mail-in ballot this year. The state of Oregon's 100% mail-in ballot.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they're all gone to central voting locations again, and taking a lifetime for them to process those mail-in ballots. And whoever thought places like New York and California, which historically are very, very, very Democratic states, have contested races, and Republicans have been winning in some of those contested races in California and New York. But the reality, again, is still that the Democrats would not hold the House, barring a complete trifecta. I mean, a superfecta or a hat trick. I mean, they need to sweep the board.
Yeah, even the president has acknowledged that probably the House is going to be lost, and it's split evenly in the Senate with the vice president having the deciding vote.
Yeah, and Atlanta will make give some buffer space for the Democrats if we win Atlanta, and I think there's a good chance that we can win Atlanta. And part of the reason is because one is the irrelevance of it. Why does it really matter? Right, because you already won the Senate, so it may bring down vote totals on both D's and R's. But it really is who wants it more. And of course, special election has a whole different turnout because you don't have the governor leading the ticket among all the other down ticket races.
Right.
So it's a little bit different in this Atlanta special. So it's entirely possible the Democrats can still win Atlanta if Republican voters, for example, think this is not relevant. Even you elect Walker, it doesn't matter. It doesn't give them power, right?
Yeah, it is interesting, and if nothing else, at least it makes it a little easier, I think, to cross the aisle and get things done if the margin is that much less. You only have a couple of Republicans to sway your way, or vice versa.
Same thing in the House side. I mean, right. The reality is that we were discussing like early in the year, plus 40 or plus 60 Republican based on past historical record, using approval ratings and calculations and things like that. Looking at history, history isn't indicative of future return. It's like the stock market, right? It's
That's
like,
right.
It doesn't work that way because people are people. You just don't know.
Right.
But I mean, clearly McCarthy will have a very slim margin. I had him at a plus 10 going in. I think it might be a plus 3.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
People do not give enough credit to Nancy Pelosi's ability to hold together the Democratic caucus, which is splintered and diverse, just like any party caucus is.
She knows her base. She definitely knows her base. Yeah.
Yeah, keep them all together to compromise within the caucus to get the ship moving forward in Democratic caucus. You have to compromise and move forward and push through an agenda that represents enough of the caucus that they can get together on a solidified vote. McCarthy's going to face the same problem. The Republican Party since 2008 has been very, very splintered in Congress. And unlike dealing like, 4 or 5 folks, he's got dozens upon dozens upon dozens of different fractures within that party, which will leverage their position on votes. Trust me, no Republican caucus wants to go to the Democratic caucus to push something forward. As much as we talk about compromise, the goal first is to compromise within your own caucus,
right?
To get the votes in place, and hopefully the other party will go along with it. It's a no-brainer. But you could find yourself, in a situation where you're short 3 votes,
and
you got to go to the other area and see if it's advertising for the other side of the aisle. And this could be also very bad for McCarthy too. Remember, the last 2 speakers didn't last a year, barely a year, in the Republican caucus the last time they held the House.
It is very interesting. One thing though that does seem to be coalescing together today, expecting another announcement from Donald Trump for a 3rd run for presidency, is almost unanimous opinion that would be bad for the Republican Party.
Oh, it's good for Democrats. I mean, I'm not shy about what party I'm in, folks. Yeah, no, it's absolutely correct. I mean, the PR right now is not very good. The voter turnout has showed a checkerboard effect in many contested states. I mean, obviously, if you're a solid Republican state, it's a 70% solid Republican registration in your district. I mean, duh. I mean,
Right.
It's difficult. I mean, unless you're literally like a high-end criminal of epic proportions, the Republicans will vote with you. Probably still would vote with you, party line voting.
Right. Yeah.
But they generally knock off those people in the primary, the really bad people. That's what primaries are for.
Right. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see a showdown between him and Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, obviously the media, Republican media, is shifting gears again. Don't forget, advertising dollars does drive media behavior. I'm sorry to tell you folks, but that's true.
Not here at QATV though.
No, you're a whole different funny making this. We can talk about that one a different day. But
that's another conversation. Yeah.
But you're shielded from media influences in terms of the dollar signs and advertising. But I mean, Nielsen ratings are very important for news outlets to attract dollars, and they'll do a lot of things. If you watch the different methodologies of news, you can see, if you really think carefully, observe, you can watch different channels, you can see exactly how they're trying to get viewership up for the purposes of advertising dollars. And this is just a reality of American media since the dawn of time of America. So
yeah, but it's a good reminder. Folks should, always ask the question, why am I seeing this? Why are they promoting this? Why are they reporting on this? It's just a good question to ask yourself. Not that it's a wrong or incorrect or inaccurate story, but the reasons behind it.
And you also see this in social media as well. I mean, obviously, as a dude, I mean, there's a whole lot of male-oriented commercials on social media targeted towards me. Again, we can talk about privacy issues and big tech and all that, but not surprising. You get these like razors, right? I get the razor commercial come up all the time. It's always men doing the ad, talking about the importance of this particular razor, why you should want it. I'm not going to name the brands, but you know what I'm talking about. If you watch enough YouTube and watch your social media, these come up. It's not an accident.
Exactly. Yeah.
Political ads use the same calculation. So, they target very specific ads to a specific demographics to appeal to you, to convince you that this is what it is. And it's targeted advertising to appeal to your psyche.
Absolutely. And candidates do the same thing. They have access to the voter rolls. They know who votes, so they know who to, push their message toward, with the likelihood that that person is going to vote.
Yeah, and especially on a national level where the resources are bigger and advertising, continuously advertising is much more important because the candidate can't reach every single voter.
Right.
Like if you're, particularly if you're in a huge state like New Hampshire, for example. Vermont has one congressperson. Wyoming has one congressperson. Those are big. I know Vermont doesn't look big, but it's a big state when you really think about one congressperson. Rhode Island's another example. It's a smaller state, so you probably could reach more people individually, more density. But if you're like in Wyoming, Liz Cheney's seat, it's big.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, we're talking thousands of miles between constituents. Yeah.
Yeah. A very different style of campaigning.
Yeah. Interestingly, Governor Baker went to the Republican Governors Association meeting in Colorado, and I said, Does he have a future ambitions?
No, he's done. His wife might kill him. Yeah, his wife might kill him.
Oh, that's true. He would say that publicly. Yeah.
Yeah, his wife might kill him. He's over 65. Yeah, I know age is no longer a barrier because you look at leadership in the parties. No offense,
Yes.
I own speaker, but yeah, leadership in parties are not young folks at the moment. Young is like 60. But yeah, I mean, all the governors have go to conference. Also got a good opportunity to see governors elect around the country. A lot of governor elected women has
Mhm.
been elected this year as well. And it's part of the continuation of sharing ideas and socialization, right? I mean,
Okay. Yeah.
uh, there's only 50 governors plus regional governor in the territories, and they have a common experience in many ways.
True.
And it's a unique experience where you can get together and talk to folks about how things are done in your state, what you encountered. Well, and particularly after COVID, in COVID, or whatever state where COVID went, because I still think we're in a pandemic state. Um, I'm sure a lot of mayors and governors and other leaders that get together, can share common knowledge and common experiences.
Yeah, that's true. They are people person positions for sure. So they have to like to interact with people to have gotten to where they are right now anyway.
Yeah, and being elected governor is a very elite group when you think about how long it's been going on under the current constitution. In the fourth, since colonial era, we're in version 4 of the government of Massachusetts. John Hancock was the last speaker from Quincy and the first governor of the new Commonwealth
Mhm.
in the current iteration of the Constitution of this government. Anyway, the Constitution replaced the previous colonial governments.
Yep.
So, but I mean, back then, Hancock was elected in 1-year terms. Then they evolved to 2-year terms. Then in the 20th century, it evolved to 4-year terms for governor, right? So, even on 1-year term governors, there ain't that many governors in the post-colonial era.
Yep.
If you look even in the State House, you come visit, you can see pictures of all governors,
Mhm.
whether elected or appointed by the crown,
Mhm.
on the walls of the State House. And yeah, it looks like a lot, but remember, the state is almost 400 years old,
Mm. Yeah.
right?
So to be able to fit them all in one room is, that's a pretty elite group. Yeah.
It is a very elite group
Yeah.
of people, and being elected the governor of Commonwealth doesn't matter who you are. Is a part of a very elite group.
You know what we should talk about, Tacky? That might be kind of fun to explain. Massachusetts is not actually a state, right? It's a commonwealth.
So there's the 4 Commonwealths, and I think there's Virginia. I know it's Commonwealth Virginia. My gut says Kentucky, and I can't think of the other ones, but we can look that up. But yeah, Commonwealth is a unique term that's actually enshrined in the Constitution.
Yeah. And is it a different governing structure than statehood?
Marketing.
Ah, okay.
So when John Adams wrote the Constitution, he had to put it before the people for ratification, and there was some review of the document, and people didn't like the fact of how the state was titled. So stating it's a commonwealth has a whole different ring to it. Is that the government will work for the common good? You guys are thinking, well, what is that? What's the deal? Well, you got to remember that these guys just came out of a Revolutionary War from the British, where the government worked for the interests of the crown. The government didn't work for the interests of the population.
Mm,
So a commonwealth means for all of us.
okay.
And it's kind of lost on people in the modern era, because as the populations change, as the demographics change, the intent of the Constitution, again, is to work for all of us, not just some of us. Hence the concept of a commonwealth.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just thought we should point that out because the U.S. Constitution is based on the Massachusetts Constitution.
Yes, absolutely. And obviously they had a different ratification process that's
Right.
written into the Constitution.
Yeah.
But it was never, everyone did it differently. But I mean, the state constitution in particular need to get through a popular vote.
Right. Yep.
We're the oldest continuously running constitution in the world. The Magna Carta isn't exactly a constitution. It's a deal between the crown and the aristocrats.
Yeah.
That has evolved over the years by common law and practice in England, which is documented. So it's a little bit quirky in the English, but in terms of like a modern contract, between the people and the population. That's the Magna Carta. You want to call the Constitution a contract. It's a contract between the people of Massachusetts and the government.
Yeah.
It's referred as the Commonwealth. And that's why the population can amend constitutions by vote, as we saw this past election cycle, amending the vote on amending the Constitution, the so-called millionaire's tax. So the population has a mechanism by which they can petition the legislature to amend the Constitution. Hence, it's still a document of the people.
Yeah, it's, I mean, it's right on the state flag, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, on the state seal. Oh, by the way, how's the redesigning of that going? Have you heard anything about that?
Well, they continue to get emails about more public hearings on it.
Okay. Okay, so the answer is no decisions.
No, they're still having public hearings on this. Obviously, go to malegislature.gov.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly how much of the material has been put up there, but it's still kind of a work in progress.
Okay, it's just interesting. I just brought it up when I was mentioning the state flag. What is going on from the speaker's point of view with the committee assignments? Anything new, Jackie?
No, I had a brief conversation about this issue with the speaker back in October. Like every member of the House in the Democratic caucus, I'll be making appointments in the months of December and January, where the speaker will spend some time and talking about their priorities for the coming legislative session and their requests for committee assignments. Obviously, this is a seniority-driven system. There's always been exceptions, but 90% of the time or 99% of the time, it's seniority-driven. As well, obviously, where the speaker can decide that you have the right skill sets to do certain things in certain committees, or maybe receive additional requests to do more beyond your committee, depending on the circumstances.
Yeah.
And as you guys can guess, we cover a diverse set of professions and life experiences, and sharing those experiences with the speaker's office, as well as sharing them with chairman and leadership people, brings greater value to the public in terms of policymaking.
Did I read where some State House staffers are finally getting a raise in pay?
Yeah, we chatted a little bit about this last time because I was in the State House. So, the challenge in pay has always been a real issue, actually forever. I was paid on Senate payroll, which evolved actually a couple of times when I actually worked in the Senate. We do have equal pay for comparable work. I always say equal pay for equal work, but it's really equal pay for comparable work is what the law says. And, it's really about closing the gender gap, especially regarding payroll. In the State House, one of the big challenges is trying to determine, raising the base pay to reflect the challenge of today's cost of living, plus, compensating people for seniority, AKA experience.
Yeah.
And this is a job. Experience matters a lot, particularly for staff, because it's different bosses, different districts, different needs, different priorities, but still working under one system, which is the House rules, the joint rules, obviously the employee handbook, in the House. But you got to, execute your boss's requests and your constituents' requests within those guidelines. And of course, the state ethics laws. There's a lot of things. Yeah, I'd be surprised if people ask me things like, that's illegal.
Yeah.
Can't do that. That happens every so often. So, I don't want to get into too much detail, but
it's all public information, so we don't have to. Yeah.
Yeah, my staff is happy.
Good. When I read the actual salaries, I was astounded at how low they were, and even still, they're not, exorbitant by any means, given the work that they do.
Yeah, I mean, the Senate historically paid more than the House. When I started working in the House in 1995. Geez, when I got part-time pay because I worked part-time, but in '96 I got full-time pay, and it was about $25,000.
Yeah.
So that was '96. Today, the base pay for aid would be $53,000. So it took 7 years to double.
Yeah, almost 27 years. Yeah.
But that's the Senate, not the House.
Right.
The House pay, if I remember correctly, in '96 was 23,500-ish.
Wow.
So yeah, it's more than doubled from slightly more than double from the pay in '96. I think it was 23,500.
Okay. Yeah.
Senate paid slightly better. So give you guys, an idea of the State House life. I mean, you got to want to do this job.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it truly is a public servant's mindset. You're not doing it for the money.
Yeah, because you're dealing with the scheduling of your boss.
Yep.
You generally get one aide as a backbench rep. You do constituent service. You're the front line of the phone calls. You have to support attending meetings. You have to, review legislation. You have to respond to constituents. You have to, help work the district. Like I said, every boss is different in how they approach things. Some folks very engaged in the district. Some are less. Some have to work after hours.
Yep.
But it's a good place to go to school if you want to go to night school in Boston. It's a good location. But like I said, it's you got to want to do it. And, I'm an example of someone that really wanted to do it.
Yep, absolutely. I read that the GM for the T is going to be replaced by an interim GM. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the deal is yet. I mean, they need to go through a real search process plus approval of the board. If you read the Contrarian Boston, written by Scott Van Voris, he floated a ton of names out there as possible replacement / interim individuals. Some of the folks have actual transportation experience. Some of them, like, really? So yeah, that was my response. So if you're interested, not like I want to promote someone else's news here, but
I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Scott Van Voris on the Contrarian Boston.
Contrarian Boston. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I have no issues with that whatsoever, Tech.
Yeah, please, consider subscribing to Scott Van Voris's stuff.
Okay.
It does provide an alternative view. I know Scott from his time at the Boston Herald's business section.
Mhm.
Very good relationship with Scott. Very good connections in Boston business scene still. Very straightforward writer.
Very nice. Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, we're all about, I believe knowledge is power, however you can get it, as long as it's accurate.
Yeah, and like I said, different. He also provides some opinions, different point of view. So, for example, one of the things he's been doing, because he was a newsroom guy at the State House as well at one point in his life, he's been visiting newsrooms around the state.
It's a great idea. Absolutely. Yep. There's no better way to get a pulse of a community than your local, used to be your local newspaper's newsroom, but it's changed now.
It has changed, and some sadness about some newsrooms that are, quite frankly, decimated as paper news is challenged.
Yeah, we're so lucky here in Quincy with the Bosworths and the Sun.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Bob does a great job following the footsteps of Henry, and I'm still very, very dependent on the Quincy Sun and local news.
Likewise. Yeah, I fully admit it. I'm just one person, so anyone can get information is helpful.
Yeah.
Well, what's coming up in the district? It's that time of year, Tacky. It's Thanksgiving, it's Christmas, it's all those things.
Well, thank you, veterans and their family. It was a good turnout on Veterans Day on Friday. The parade is a bit shorted, in the past from Quincy High School parking lot down Hancock Street to Marymount Park. In some ways, actually, I like this route better. Shorter distance makes me a little happier, I suppose. I live close enough to the Marymount Park. You actually walk to the Quincy High School parking lot and turn around and walk back to the house after the parade's over. Obviously, you got various fairs that have now gone off regarding buying things for Christmas. I mean, if Quincy High School had one, you probably various churches will have them. House Neck generally has one. So keep an eye out in the Quincy Sun.
Yeah, and on our channel too, we promote those for the churches, definitely.
Exactly, and good chance to spend some money on good local community people and gifts for the for your family, small gifts and whatnot. And then obviously Christmas parade is Thanksgiving weekend, and then Quincy Age Resources has the annual meeting next Monday.
Oh,
they're required by bylaws to have at least one public annual meeting. So that'll be good for people to get caught up what's going on. I think it's going to be a hybrid meeting.
Yeah.
Some in Zoom, some in person. And then hopefully it'll be a quiet Christmas. Going to the holidays, you have the local tree lightings in December, various neighborhoods. Everyone does something a little bit different. Tree lighting in Hell's Neck has moved off the fire station. I think that the tree kind of couldn't. It just aged out. So they're doing something a little bit special down in the neck.
Oh, okay.
And then there's obviously local ones in Marymount and out in West Quincy and so forth. And
Yep. Safford Park is a big one. I know. Yep.
yeah, and the fire department does a great job, with Santa Claus. Um, but I mean, I'm always desiring a quiet month, and hopefully you'll get a quiet month in December.
Yes. Well, we'll see what the weather brings too. That's always a challenge.
Yeah, we're all hoping for warm weather. Your electric bill and gas bill, we'll see it spike at the end of this month. So basic rate has gone up 65%, and I believe gas rates have gone up 16%. So if you're completely dependent on electric heating, it's going to be very challenged. And if you're oil-based, as you saw, there's a challenge in diesel fuel and home heating oil. And for low-income folks and senior citizens, we allocate $57 million in this supplemental / econ dev bill to low income assistance program. Waiting with the federal government comes through their amount. Historically, they provide 20 million, but Congress, who knows what's going on down there?
Yeah.
And it's a lame duck situation right now for Congress as well. So
Yeah.
we're still getting money for our local community action programs. And like every year, I tell folks, if there's local charitable organization, not-for-profits, and you have a little bit of extra change to give, please do consider giving to some of our local organizations for the good work they do.
You would definitely help your neighbor, especially through QCAP and the Salvation Army and Interfaith, places like that. You're directly helping people that live in your community.
Yeah, and the Salvation Army bell is something that Bob Bosworth continues the tradition from his dad, and I'll be ringing a bell at some point as well. I did ask Bob, can we do this when I still have some daylight?
I know it's a challenge this time of year. That's
So,
like 4 o'clock now.
yeah, hopefully I get a daylight hour.
Yes. Well, we'll give you a flashlight, Jackie. But again, another great cause, and it stays right in the community.
Yeah, agreed. So, it's I do understand. Everyone's going to have to tighten the wallets. We talked about me and my coupon clipping many times. And again, you don't have to leave your stuff plugged in all the time. You don't have to plug your phone in all the time. You don't have to plug your laptop in all the time. Unplugging, turning off your surge protectors, small things like that can help reduce your electric bill a little bit of time. And also, if you're able to, get a smart thermostat. Mass Save website has a lot of discounts and coupons for smart thermostats. You're paying for your electric bill anyway to pay those programs, so might as well get your benefits out of that, like smart meters or other stuff. And it does make a difference. We got a smart meter recently, and it's actually we actually have a new heating system. You may remember a year and a half ago the banging noises in the background of one.
I remember that actually, yes.
And the smart meter has made a huge difference working with new heating equipment that talks to each other better, for lack of a better term. So, that helps a lot. And but yeah, no, you guys are all gonna be in for a sticker shock. And again, I said this again for multiple times already. I still believe that consumer spending is going to go down as a result of paying high energy prices. Gas prices are creeping up to about $3.80, high as $4.25. Boston, I've seen as high as $5.25.
Really?
At the pump, and people are going to be tightening their belts even further.
Yeah, it's no question. It's still an inflationary period for sure. I think people will spend on travel this year to see their families, but maybe pull back on the gift part.
Yeah, obviously tickets are up. Jet fuel's gone up in price, and people are going to probably travel around the Thanksgiving period and probably stay local during Christmas and New Year's. But yeah, you're right. I think people have been saving money for one big trip, and then probably will not travel again to the following summer.
Right. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about world affairs. The president is out of the country right now, I think in Indonesia.
Yeah, the G20 is being hosted in Cambodia, actually.
Okay.
Is the host country. Indonesia is playing a very strong position as one of the, I think it's the third most popular. It's the third most populous country in the world.
Wow.
So they're in a growing economic power in the geographic zone, exerting its influence in the area. and being a strong host, all the Southeast Asian nations being a strong host for the G20, and the president and President Xi of China met in Bali.
Yep.
First time they've seen each other in person since pre-COVID, when the president was still vice president for Obama.
That's right.
So it's been a long time, and they've traveled together, they work together, they know each other pretty well. So, this is not a new experience for President Biden to deal with the Chinese government. And because the way it works, they get like equal level government. So when President Xi was only vice premier, his counterpart was Vice President Biden. So in this area, it's very fortunate, where you have someone that is leading nation in foreign affairs that actually have a lot of experience engaging with China. The expectation is Secretary Blinken will make a trip to China himself to meet his counterpart in China proper. And, obviously discussion is all over the news about, securitization of the Pacific region, especially regarding Taiwan, and reemphasization of the two China policy status, one China policy status quo situation, which basically translates to don't invade Taiwan. That's what he's really saying there. Obviously, the trade war continues. People forget we are still in the trade war. The tariffs are still very high with both countries on trading goods. He did not break down the Trump era tariffs. Obviously, security with Korea and Japan is a big deal. The U.S. reiterated the position there. Protection of trade. I'm sure Ukraine come up at some level regarding engagement with the Russian Federation. I'm sure they talk about a lot of stuff. So I'm sure some of it didn't come out in the press as well. And this is a translation challenge, because it takes twice as long to talk when you have a translator.
Oh, true. That's right. You're adding another whole layer to the conversation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that people forget there's that component as well. When you have to talk slowly, deliberately, and carefully, so the translator can translate those words so it's relayed correctly.
Yeah, that's right. There are nuances, especially in the English language, that can be misconstrued if they're not translated correctly.
Yeah, what you say really, really matters. The words you pick really matters because of the nature of translation. Sometimes, for example, you want to try to avoid idioms and metaphors, unless you state up front, I'm using a metaphor.
That's right. That's right. Because what we would understand completely, somebody else would find completely foreign. Yeah.
Agreed. So diplomatic conversations are very, very careful word.
Yeah. I know you're aware, Tacky, of the incident at the Wollaston MBTA station. I don't know if you want to comment on that particularly, but I know we've talked in the past about violence against Asian Americans in general. And unfortunately, the victim in this case was an Asian woman.
Yeah, I mean, it's all over the news. I mean, more news coverage this week. I'm aware that District Attorney Morris, he's working very hard regarding this prosecution, as well as the MBTA police. The victim was at Wallaston T Station Saturday morning around 7 a.m. The perpetrator tried to basically kidnap another woman within like a 10, 20-minute zone. I think it's really close time frame. The other one was able to fend the individual off. I'm hoping that the person that fend off the perpetrator comes forward to the police to make a statement to give a better idea if this rises level to hate crime, because this guy's predatory behavior. And I mean, you read the Globe article, this guy's a sicko. I mean, it's a predator. It's bad.
Yeah, I read the court document statements that he made, and it didn't refer to race, at least in those statements that I read. It's more of another issue going on for sure.
Yeah, hate crimes are premeditated. You have to demonstrate that the race is a factor, a predominant factor to rise to the level of hate crime. It's a premeditated issue. So generally people use racial slurs in certain acts, but a pattern of behavior can do so as well. So if anybody's been harassed or have talked to this individual or made certain comments, definitely come forward to police to let them know, and the DA's office know, so they can see if there's enough there to build a premeditation regarding hate crime. And, also social media accounts, people can find a lot of stuff out of there. I mean, that's how people in the FBI are able to figure out sedition, for example, because of what you put down in the public media. Particularly social media and comments made at the workplace or with neighbors. This is in my neighborhood. Those of you guys know I live in Wollaston. Wollaston T is my T station since I was forever. And a 10-minute walk to the T. My brother lives in the neighborhood too. You guys all know, I live with my mother and take care of her. A myriad of issues, and obviously, the victim was a senior citizen and a small woman. My mom is also a senior citizen and a small woman, so I'm very, very concerned. That this guy was literally in my neighborhood on Elm Ave, East Elm Ave, as a predator, and very, very troubled by that, obviously. So more facts will unfold during the course of the week into next week. 23rd is arraignment, and I suspect we got more to talk about this next week once more details arise.
Yeah, he's being held without bail, just to let folks know. So relax. He's not out on the streets.
Yeah, and I feel terribly for the victims, because obviously the other person was tried to be abducted, and obviously their families and friends and their co-workers and their neighbors all impacted by this type of crime, that it's just grotesque.
Yeah, I do remember years ago, you probably remember too, the T police put up that portable watchtower, essentially, when there were some issues at that station, and that really seemed to have an impact.
Yeah, unfortunately, Asian folks, obviously there's a very large Chinese neighborhood in particular, during the summer months, are robbed at the Wallaston T station.
Yep.
And not to say that, they just don't rob random people, but there's a propensity for people to rob Asian folks during the summertime. They target folks that likely have cash, particularly people working in the restaurant industry. And also during Chinese New Year, there's an incorrect perception that Chinese folks are carrying a whole lot of cash all the time during Chinese New Year because of the red envelopes, as a gift to family members and friends.
Usually it's just $1, so relax, people.
Agreed. I mean, it's not that much money, and home break-ins, tend to occur during Chinese New Year as well, because the incorrect perception, there's a boatload of money there. But also targeting particularly, people in the restaurant industry, especially wait staff, who get tips in cash. And it's still, people still use cash. I know it sounds strange to some folks listening, but tipping in cash is still very common. So, but yeah, this does happen, and I'm very aware of it. And it's not a new issue, particularly grab and goes, so to speak, smash and grab, and same thing, breaking into people's homes. And I'm sorry to say, it's not unusual. It's an expectation now during the summer months. But this type of grotesque crime of kidnapping and sexual assault, is not one of the ones that that is part of, I hate to say, of the criminal norm.
It's a heinous crime, no doubt. Yeah, for sure. And again, of course, we feel for the family and the victim herself as well. Well, on that note, Tacky, we have to ask folks how to get a hold of you.
Yeah, 617-722-2370, 617-722-2370. I appreciate to hear from anyone about things that are important to them. Obviously, constituent services come first. tacky.chan@emmyhouse.gov. Still, email is not so bad right now, thankfully. And of course, we have Tacky Chan, State Representative Tacky Chan Facebook, as well as @Tacky Chan on Twitter, tackychan.org. Some useful information there, and obviously MAlegislature.gov is the official state website. And of course, Kiwi TV with Joey here. There's a podcast, Things I Discovered Late in Life. Obviously on YouTube, you want to see my face. And, obviously, if you're got Comcast, you can watch in channel 8 and 10. And I think we're just down to 8 and 10, right?
No, we have our HD channel now as well.
Okay, there's an HD channel. I'm still turning. Clearly, I'm only turning on to 8 only still.
Well, you can get us there, but yeah, it's I should know what the HD channel is, shouldn't I? 1097, I think.
97. All right. Well, I mean, are we in 4K? Do we do 4K on Zoom?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
So if I get better resolution on YouTube, I guess.
Yeah, you can see my wrinkles and gray hairs. But yeah, we certainly encourage folks to reach out to you, or if they want to get hold of me, I can certainly relay messages as well.
Oh, absolutely. Don't be afraid to bother Joe. And, obviously you can tell we're friends. So it isn't like you can't get a hold of me, and we try very hard.
Yeah. And what do you mean late in life? My gosh, you're just a kid.
I do age. You guys have been watching me since April 2020, and despite the hair and exhaustion, some days, as you guys have noticed, if you want to go back in time, you can see what I look like. But I do age, just to let you all know. It takes a little while.
Very, very slightly.
It happens. I have a little more gray hairs. My haircutter pointed out to me. I picked up a few extra grays.
Hey, at least you have it. Thanks so much, Jackie. Always good to talk to you.
Great to see you. Talk to you soon.